What's going on, nerds? Welcome back to Comic Book Nerd Nation, episode 161. I'm Fox2. We got Pirate,
Hello.
Topher,
Hello.
Hello.
and the whole effing Brian.
I am one with the podcast. The podcast is with me.
Podcast is with me.
Fair enough. Yeah, perfect lead in. As you guessed it, this week we're talking in depth about Rogue One. If you haven't seen it, you probably just want to turn this episode off, watch a different episode, go see Star
Mute
Wars.
it so we can
Rogue
get
One.
views.
Yeah, just mute it. Watch it on mute. Yeah, we're gonna break it down in detail. Definitely is gonna be a spoiler-filled episode. If you don't like that, tough shit. Deal with it. On with the show. Okay.
Down.
Oh, that was special.
Everybody clap your hands.
So we've all seen Rogue One at this point. Last week
Turn it up.
we got Topher's and Brian's opinions out of 10 of just briefly, no synopsis whatsoever. Just scored the movie out of 10. Pirate,
So
where
another
do you land?
Um,
Out of 10, where would you rank it?
Do you remember what we gave it? Because I don't.
Yes, I do.
I think we both get you.
You
I
both gave it
understand
7.5.
I was gonna give it a little. I was gonna give it like 8, but yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
my
out there
score.
with them.
My score definitely changes since then.
Yeah.
I saw it the
Okay.
second time.
Well, hang on. Let's not spoil Pirate's perspective here. I want to get his last week's answer. I'll give my answer to last week's question, and then we'll kind of start breaking shit down. And I know you guys have seen it again, I think. So, Pirate, better or worse than
Force Awakens.
Force Awakens? Yeah.
I'm gonna go with better because
Okay.
it was
No reason yet.
Okay.
Just okay.
Okay.
I'm just sticking with the way we did it last week, just to see where the landscape is before we start getting into the details. I'm going to give the movie a 9, and I definitely think it was better, without a doubt. So Brian said his opinion has changed. Let's start getting into some of this and find out why we all landed where we landed. So, as a recap, Brian last week gave it a 7.5 and said that he liked Force Awakens better. Topher also gave it a 7.5 and said he liked Force Awakens better. And then you've already obviously heard where Pirate and I stand on it just now. So, let's, per the request by Whole F and Brian, instead of us kind of trying to take turns to tell what we thought, let's discuss different... I have a list here, actually, of some different aspects of the movie. And let's try and discuss each one individually. So, one part of the film as a whole that I thought was kind of interesting was the score. Okay, this movie was scored in only a month, which is a really, really short time to be scoring such a high-budgeted film. How did you guys feel about the music? How did you feel about the composition of the score?
Well, here's the thing about that. I learned yesterday by watching a review on it that the guy who scored this movie did
Call of Duty.
one of the Call of Duties. Yeah.
The original one.
I liked it. I think it fit. You know, I'm glad it wasn't John Williams. I like how they separated a lot of aspects from the trilogy.
Okay, he's frozen. So, Topher.
Yeah, you know,
I liked it.
that was the worst explanation ever because you got like 4 words in and it froze, and then like we were like, all right, well, moving on to Topher, and then you're like, and that's why I liked it.
I didn't hear that. Moving on to Topher.
Oh, it was perfect.
So, yeah, I'll give you one more chance. Do you want to tell us why you liked it so we can hear it this time, or?
Oh, I liked it. Well, mine was quick, so I'll do it again. I liked it
That's what she
because
said.
the music was good. The music fit. I like how they had a different composer and kept John Williams to the main story.
Okay.
The music was good. I mean, it was music.
All right. Topher would.
It wasn't like blah.
Was that a Michael Bay like horn blast there?
Yeah.
That was a Michael Bay combined with Christopher Nolan movie.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I guess the score was okay. I mean, from the very first scene, you know, it like kicks in, you know, and just goes boom, and you're right in the movie, and there's no fanfare, there's no crawl, you know, none of the usual Star Wars stuff. So, like right away, you could tell, okay, this is going to be different. And I guess the music was pretty good because I never really I don't know that I really paid all that much attention to it. So I mean, it must have fit because it was never glaringly wrong. But I also don't remember a whole lot of like motifs or themes from it that, you know, really stood out for me at the time. So I mean, I guess the music was good, but maybe not like extremely memorable.
All right. What about you, Pirate? Did you?
That's exactly kind of my thought process when we started. You said we were going to talk about the scoring of it. Like, I don't remember any one thing that stood out musically, but I don't remember any bad thing either. So I'm assuming like if something would have sounded shitty, I'd have been like, oh, but I don't. There was none of that. So, but I don't remember. I remember like when you go into the beginning, like Chris said, or Topher said, it was you're right there. But I just remember the little noise, a little like chimey, like kind of what's the
It's almost like Law and Order.
yeah, but then at one point when it like changed off like 15 years later, then you got the or like with the you know what I mean, like so I mean there were some things that stuck out that was obviously like, you know, that have always been all the Star Wars, but as far as like individual songs and like scores and, you know, compositions, I couldn't tell you one. Like I honestly, none stuck out.
Yeah.
I know he worked a little bit of John Williams. He worked a little bit of the Imperial motif, not the march, but like the other Imperial music, like during the Vader scenes and whatnot. So I mean, like there were some callbacks, and I think it fit thematically. Like I said, I just with one watch through, one listen, like I felt like everything fit, and it worked. But I can't get any of it in my head. Like if you told me to like, you know, whistle out a melody from the movie, I'd be like, I got nothing.
Yeah, I agree. I like how it started. Excuse me. I think it was different, obviously, from the main story Star Wars films. I thought there was some spots where it felt like, I guess a better way to describe it is like you guys said, there was nothing that standed out as like really awesome. And to me, one of the really cool things about Star Wars movies is that the score is really awesome usually. And there's those moments where the music really builds the emotion of the situation and helps the storyline. But this movie didn't have that. And for that reason, I feel like the score kind of felt rushed, which it probably was to some degree because they made it in 4 weeks. So I think they did a good job for the time allotted, but I don't think that it hit like a home run like the regular Star Wars movies do. I don't know. So I guess I'm in agreement with you guys.
Now, here's the question that I have about that score. Does that mean that it was wrote, like by writing, like everything, like they had no music whatsoever, no thing on paper, or does that mean that it was recorded in 4 weeks?
No, I think it was written and recorded in 4 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, because the the old or the guy that was gonna do it dropped out or got removed or something like that late in the game.
Okay.
Sorry, I've got frog in my throat.
It's all that nog you're drinking.
Yeah,
Blowing Kermit.
blowing Kermit. Can't help it. Okay, so wow, what did you guys think about the droid K2?
Oh, I loved them. The best part.
Yeah,
That-
I thought he
One
was,
of the best parts of the movie.
I thought he was pretty cool.
I thought he
They
was.
always
Yeah.
have that. They always do the. Even if some characters are lame, they always do like perfect by the droids. BB-8 was hilarious. You know, everybody loved R2D2 and C3PO. K2
Well,
was awesome.
Yeah, they're getting back to the droids being the comic relief. You know, the lighthearted, amusing side of Star Wars. You know, because you're usually dealing with pretty heavy shit. You know, especially in this movie, you've got freaking, you know,
Heavy, man.
yeah, like it's a war movie really, and people are dying everywhere, and it's bad news on everything, and so even the droid a little bit is you know a little more sarcastic than just straight up you know lighthearted and fun, but he's amusing, and the guy who did the voice was Alan Tudyk, Wash from Firefly.
I'm a leaf in
And,
the wind. Watch me soar.
Yeah, and I thought he was great. I thought he was absolutely great in it. And I had read or seen an interview with him beforehand, and he was talking about how you know he was super concerned that like the character wasn't going to be you know was going to be too silly or something or not good. And I guess he kept asking everybody, you know, he's like, please tell me I'm not the next Jar Jar. Like I don't want to be the next Jar Jar. Like, is it okay? Did the scenes come off? Are they funny? Are they good? Are they not too funny? Are they silly? And they're like, dude, chill. You know, like it's good. Like it's really good. You're perfect. Like the character's great. And I think everybody pretty much agrees on that point that you know K2SO was definitely one of the highlights of the movie.
Yeah,
I heard that he was going to what's his name? Who plays C3PO? What's his name?
Anthony Daniels.
Yeah, he went to Anthony Daniels after the premiere, and he was like, "Did I do good?" And he's just like, "Fuck off."
Well, he said it jokingly because
Did I break
he was
it?
like,
High score? What's that?
no, because Anthony Daniels was like, Anthony Daniels was like, well, did they make you like wear the suit? And he's like, no, I was just CG. I just had to voice the whole thing. And
I
Anthony
heard-
Daniels was like, I actually had to wear the suit. Fuck you.
Yeah. I heard that his whole costume for the movie, for the CG, was the normal CG suit, and he had to be on stilts.
That makes
oh,
sense.
really.
You kind of see that in the way you walk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought K2's like color commentary almost was hilarious. Just the way that they just kind of added the sarcasm and shit in there with him was perfectly timed. There wasn't too much of it, but it was just enough to like break up, like you said, to break up the seriousness, like to remind you that you're here to have fun, kind of.
I mean, they've implied before that, you know, that R2D2 can be somewhat sarcastic because, you know, you never actually hear a voice, you never hear what he says, but you hear C-3PO's reactions to it, and, you know, and he's like, that's not very nice, you know, like, so, like, you've been given the impression that droids can have, like, a sarcastic, you know, mean streak sometimes, and now you actually, it's like as if R2D2 actually had a voice on some of his, you know, meaner comments. So it was pretty cool, I thought.
One thing I liked about K2, it's like even when he says something that, like, oh, what was it he said? It was like the last thing he said to the girl at the end, like when he says he says something, you think it's like a caring.
Oh, when she gives him the gun.
It
He's
might
like,
have been. He says
Oh,
something.
something of you has changed, and then he comes and then he says something.
Yeah, he like follows it up with like a jab, kind of like how he still kind of doesn't like her or something like that, like, or doesn't trust her, or But it was funny because it was just like perfectly timed. Like, you know, the way he says things is like he always says the funny thing with the little few amount of words possible at the right time. It was like perfectly placed. Like,
Oh, like you want to know the percentage of her using the blaster against you?
and he's like, "No, I don't.
It's high.
No."
Congratulations,
It's
you're
Really
being
high.
congratulations, you're being rescued.
You're being
Please do not
rescued.
resist.
He says something to another time, and he's like, "Do you want to know the percent chance we have?" He's like, "No, I don't." He's like 33. He's like, "I know I don't." He's like, "Wait, 40 or something like that." Like
Now
he
it's
jumped.
now it's like 35.
Jen, I'll be there for you. Cassian said I had to.
Yeah, that's what it was. That's the one I was thinking.
Yeah. He had some really great lines.
Comedic timing was really good.
Yeah, I think that was the key,
It
was
wasn't-
the timing of it.
And it didn't seem like it's supposed to be funny. It was like kind of a condescending way he would say everything.
Well,
Yeah.
I like how they prefaced it by saying that when he was like reprogrammed or whatever, it like turned off his filter essentially. So anything that like
Oh, yeah.
anything that comes to his head, he just says. So it's like it's almost like a droid version of Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy,
Yeah.
but done way better. Just the timing of it, like it was perfect. It really was.
Alan
Pirate.
Tudyk actually Alan Tudyk actually improvised some of those lines. Like the one where he shows up on Jeddah and and he pretends to still be an Imperial droid, and like he's like he's like, they're coming with me, and like Cassian starts to say something and he smacks him and he goes, mouth off again and you'll get a fresh one. Like just like completely like
Mouth
completely
off again
ad-libbed
and
that.
you'll get
They
a
were like, yep. We're like,
I love that. I love that too, because after that, at the end of that scene, he's like, "I'm sorry about the smack." He apologizes to Cassie. Oh, that's fucking fantastic. Yeah, that was that. Yeah, he was definitely one of the most memorable characters in my mind. Some of the other characters that I thought was a real highlight of the movie were Baze Malbus and Chirrut Imwe. One thing, I loved those characters, like when you're watching them without any like real knowledge about them. They didn't really give us any backstory. They didn't give us very, very little like historical information about these characters. But you, through the performance of the actors and their emotions, you could just like feel the like friendship between these two, that they had been through like amazing times and really terrible times, and every shade of the spectrum between the two, and it built this like unspeakable bond of friendship that they played perfectly. But I really wish that they would have had like a little bit more backstory for those characters, because I felt like that was one of the biggest like pluses of this movie, was those two characters, their friendship, what they added to the group, and like the emotion that they kind of invoked whenever they were in a scene. They really drove the emotion of that scene, whether it was something kind of lighthearted, whether it was something very intense and impending doom feeling. You could get it from those two characters every time. So I wish there was more. I wish we learned more about those characters. But all in all, I think those characters added a ton to the movie. What you guys? I mean, where do you land on?
I agree. I love those two characters, especially. I can't. What's the monk?
Chirrut Imwe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was awesome. And an aspect I love that they showed with his characters is that always, if you've read is now Legends and the books that are now considered legend and not part of canon, they always seem to show characters that were not forced users, but kind of
In
like
tune with it.
yes, and he was one of the characters that you like. One of the big characters I know we have in the new trilogy. We have
Jesus,
Maz
the way you're
Kanata.
scratching, do you need me to take a break so you can go shoot some fucking heroin?
Oh, itchy.
God damn. He's
Just
I-
let me get one more
I
fix,
just-
man.
I saw Star Wars and it had this blind man. And
I itch myself so I don't
I'm pretty
clip my
sure he knew
fingernails
what the
during the
Force was. I'm
podcast.
one with the heroin.
But
the
we
heroin
have
is with me.
characters like Maz Kanata, who we're not sure if she can use the Force or she's attuned to it. But you have him and he's attuned to the Force, and it was a cool character. You see kind of it shows more of the people that are like the Force and the Jedi are their religion, even though they're not Jedi themselves. And a little fun fact about their characters, that they're, protectors of the Church of the Wills, is a throwback to the original title for New Hope.
A Church of the Wills.
No.
It was the Temple of the Wills, but the original draft of the script for Star Wars that Lucas wrote way back when was it was going to be like, I don't remember exactly what the full thing was,
Oh, it was
but it was like
crazy.
basically it was the Journal of the Wills was the and supposedly like the Wills were going to be this race of spacefaring ancient alien civilization
It was,
that like
it
were
was-
all like sort of the guardians of the Force, and they were all like attuned to the Force.
The original title was going to be Adventures of Luke Starkiller, as taken from the Journal of the Wills. Saga 1, The Star Wars.
And another fact is the old guy who was that Kylo Ren killed in the beginning of Episode 7 was part of that same group. And then I want to touch on something Doug just said about getting their backstory.
Well, okay, all right. As long as we're staying on those two characters, because Pirate has not had a chance to talk yet.
Or Topher.
They will
Portia,
probably do something with them in the books, since a lot of things are. They give you a lot of information in books now. Star Wars, like the whole Aftermath series that takes place in between. They'll probably do something
This is a
like
new thing.
those.
When did this start? When did
God.
we start getting information in books?
Shit.
Star Wars revolutionizes something
Fucking
again.
Yeah.
Again, they did it
fucking
again.
heavy, dude.
Books used to just
You
be,
heard it here
I don't
first
know, what,
on the Comic
firewood?
Book Nerd Nation podcast. Star Wars is the first organization to put information in books.
In books.
It's all Disney's fault. Disney
Damn.
done it. Disney
I
done
might-
it.
I might actually read one now if there's information in them.
I know. I didn't think that there was anything valuable in books. That's why I never read
No.
any.
Well, there wasn't until now.
Oh, right. Go on.
And knows half the battle. But they'll probably do a novel about them, about their backstory,
With information.
with information. No pictures.
Pirate, what did you think of Baze Malbus and Chirrut Imwe?
I enjoyed their characters. I think I slightly disagree with you though on they've been through some shit together, and here's my only reason why, is because for as much as you can tell that they've obviously been through a lot together, but the guy, he doubts the monk's perception of the Force until the very end when he walks out there and then flips the fucking switch to turn the satellite relay on or whatever, and then he's looking in astonishment, holy shit, it actually works, and it's so convincing that he even tries it after he sees his buddy die. He tries it, and it works for a second until a grenade, plasma grenade goes off. But that's just things, all things aside, grenades only, grenades trump the Force.
See, did you really think that he doubted it? Because I took it more of like a friendly, like, yeah, sure, the Force, it works, right?
I don't think it was as extreme as Han Solo's perception of it, but I think that it was, I think that it was.
I just don't know how he could not believe it. Like, even after the fucking opening, like, fight scene with Chirrut, where he just, like, macked fucking, like, 15 stormtroopers or whatever.
I mean, no, but I don't think that had anything to do with the Force. I think that just had to do with him being, like, fucking, a blind,
bomb-ass
badass
kung fu
motherfucker.
artist.
I mean, he's probably seen him fight before. Like,
I think he kind of gave up on it.
I didn't think about that.
That's a good take. Like, he was a
The
believer,
Jedi were
but
wiped out. They still
Yeah.
kind of protected the church until the Empire came, and they were like, "Screw this." There are no more Jedi. I think he kind of like gave up on it. Like, the Force isn't here anymore.
That's
Why are you being crazy?
that's a solid take. I
Yeah.
kind of like that.
Yeah, I'll go with that one.
Touche.
Too.
Home run. Topher?
Chirrut Imwe was my favorite character in the entire movie.
Really?
I loved the dude. I thought he was great. Like I loved the fact that you could have a character in the movie that had a strong connection to the Force. Because let's face it, it's not Star Wars without the Force. Like that's such a huge part of that universe, of that galaxy rather. That you have to have something there of the Force, and the fact that it's a war movie, there was a lot of that stuff that was done really well. It was done great, but I loved having the tie to the Force there. And I mean, he was such he didn't have a whole lot of lines, but he showed faith, he showed friendship, he showed loyalty. Like the dude was great. Like he was a very strong character just in his presence without even having to talk. And he had one of the best moments in the movie with that whole, slow walk out there to flip the switch to get the transmitter on. I mean, that was, I really liked him, and the little relationship that he had with with Baze was great. The way they played off of each other, and that whole what did he say? I don't need luck. I have you, or something like that.
Yeah.
Like I loved, like, the two of them together was great, and and you kept talking about how just how great their friendship is and everything, and I'm just gonna throw this out there, but they're totally gay.
You know what? I was thinking the same
People were
thing.
saying that. Yeah,
I was
that was
totally
a thing
I thought
going
the
around.
Same thing.
What?
Oh,
No.
come on, Fox.
No way.
Yes.
I didn't think they were gay, but there's a lot of things, people saying that, and the director was like, think about what you want. It doesn't matter.
I
But I
thought
think
they were
they're
gay.
just best friends.
Based on what?
Let me
Based
tell you
give me
about my
give me
best
one
friend.
instance of something that happened that was that made
Like,
you
when
think
he
that they were
dies-
homosexual.
When he dies, the dude just gives up all hope. Like, look, I got some good friends, but if they
His
die, I'm not
best
giving up
friend
all
just
hope.
died in battle. It was his last remaining friend. Everyone else that he knows is dead because that whole fucking city was just torched.
Give me a good reason why they're not. I
They
mean,
didn't make out.
what
They didn't make
They
they
didn't
didn't
hold
make
hands.
out. They didn't
if
kiss.
you had-
He didn't kiss him
if you
goodbye.
had-
They never had any physical like
No
anything.
one of those-
gays, I mean,
They
if
didn't
one of those
hug.
characters-
Masculine gay.
if one of those characters was female and they had those scenes exactly as written, you'd be like, they are not just friends. They are not just friends.
I
I'm
don't.
with
I
Topher.
no. I disagree. There was no.
Look
There
at,
was no indication of affection whatsoever. It was
Okay,
What?
do you watch Game of Thrones?
no.
No? Okay. Jaime Lannister and Brienne of Tarth.
No, not at all.
don't
I
know.
think they're in like a warrior's like.
It's-
No.
yeah.
Respect.
I absolutely think it's a mutual respect. Like
I
that-
think if
that's,
Jaime
like,
Lannister
forged
whips his
over-
dick out, she's blowing him.
that's.
I think she's a lesbian.
No, see, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about
Oh.
Star Wars.
Oh, okay.
Like I think it's just a mutual respect that's been born over years and years of fighting alongside of one another and friendship, and they've been through really hard times, and they lean on each other for support. But I don't. There was no actual evidence. I mean, that's just a total like pull it out of the clouds theory. Like you guys get on me for like making up statistics and shit. This is like the exact same fucking thing.
Here's the thing.
You're totally
Here's the thing
pulling it
about
out
that,
of
though.
thin air.
No, it's not pulling it out of thin air because when I
That's-
watched it, I was like, no, because when I
Well,
watched
that's
it,
like-
I wasn't even going to say
It's like saying
anything.
Jin is bisexual.
No, when
Well,
I watched
you don't
this
have any
movie-
evidence that she's not bisexual.
No,
so
but
she
here's the
must
thing.
be.
Here's the thing. When
Like-
I watched this movie, that was the perception that I got after the movie. That I was like, man, these guys are a little bit more than just really good buddies. They're like really
You're
a
hiding
little
something
bit
in the
more.
closet.
Hey, I don't know about that, but I know that I watched that and I was like, huh. And then he said something. I was like, wow, okay, I wasn't the only one.
This never even like occurred to me at all until you said that.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't
Neither
even
do I.
it wasn't even like a thought on my radar, because I don't think there was anything that happened between them that was even remotely questionable. Like, and that's to this point in this conversation, nobody has said nobody's been able to cite any one instance of anything in that movie that happened that would point to the fact that they were homosexual.
No,
Just give
no,
me
but I'm
one
just saying-
example. Just
but
one.
Topher does put a valid point. If it would have been a female, if one of those roles would have had a female gender,
I disagree completely.
I feel
Yeah.
like then that people would have said it would have been more obvious.
I disagree.
I agree with Doug. For once.
I disagree completely.
Okay.
Because there's still a complete lack of evidence. It's just like I said, it would be like one of us saying, you know what? At the end of that movie, I really got the feeling that Jin was bisexual.
Look,
Well, there was
I mean,
no
she
evidence.
was
When
that
it-
there
she
was
was
no
kind of
evidence
mentioned a
she
few
wasn't.
scenes.
When it
there
comes-
there were
when-
no other female characters that she interacted with, so that would
Mon Mothma.
Mon Mothma. She has a total dyke haircut, so they must have been fucking scissoring.
Hey, that's cool in the movie.
Wow,
That's
okay.
cool.
I mean,
Listen, when it all comes,
I'm
everybody
just
be
saying.
quiet.
I'm just
When it
saying.
all
There's
comes-
no like.
I know what you're just saying, and I'm saying that I watched the movie and I saw the way they interacted with each other, and I got a
Okay,
different vibe from
Give
that
me
relationship.
When it
one
all comes
interaction
down-
that
So
when it
you would call
here's-
gay.
I already did.
here's
when
the-
it all comes down to it,
No, you didn't.
Whoa,
Listen,
no, hold on.
when it all comes, no, listen, let me say what I have to say. When it all comes down to it, he wasn't going, I am one with the penis is with me.
True.
but he was not going and saying, "I am complete heterosexual."
What was this- what was this one?
heterosexual
Wait a
is who
minute.
I am.
To-
The Force makes you heterosexual.
Okay.
Topher.
No. Give me one indication that he was heterosexual. Give
Maybe
me
he
one
was-
thing he did. Give me one heterosexual thing he did then. Did he make out with any women the entire movie?
He checked out Jin's butt.
No, I'm
I
not
totally
saying.
saw it.
I'm not.
No. My problem. No. Hold on. You talked. My turn.
This is
My
gonna
whole
be
problem.
fucking great.
You said give me one thing he did that qualifies as gay. Gay people are just people. Like everything they do is still people stuff.
Yet
Like,
you're the one
you
trying
can have-
to. Yet you're the one trying to classify people based on no
Them holding-
evidence
I'm saying I
whatsoever that
watched-
they're gay.
It's not no evidence whatsoever. It's watching the movie and
Give me
seeing
one
the-
thing. Tell me one thing. Give me one instance of one interaction between the two of them that made
See,
you think that. You can't.
pretty much every interaction between them.
They could be best friends. If
They
your
could
best
be.
friend died in front of you, would you hold them
Look.
like that? I would.
Look,
I-
I'm not.
Then I'd be like, I'm taking your video.
Hey, I'm not saying. Look, I'm not saying for sure that they are. I'm saying that I got that vibe from them, and I felt like there could have been more to that relationship. And what I'm saying is, I don't think it's fair to discount that because they never fucking made out or did anything that you define as gay. That apparently gay relationships only actually become gay when there's physical contact.
Only when the balls touch.
That's
But-
okay.
See,
that's not what I'm
my
saying.
problem.
So
my
as
problem
long as
with-
the balls don't
I'm
touch,
saying
they're not
there's
gay.
no
John?
reason to
My
make
problem-
the assumption because there's no
Yeah,
evidence.
exactly.
So there's
and
no-
I completely, dude.
There's no
stop.
reason to even bring up your point
Uh-huh.
because there was no evidence.
I completely agree with you. There is no evidence that you can make an assumption. And so therefore your assumption that he is heterosexual is also invalid, because give me any evidence. What the problem
We need to check their Facebook page. We need to check their Facebook profile, see what they're interested in.
The problem here that you're making is that everyone is straight until proven gay.
I didn't say that. I never said that. Not once did I ever say that they were heterosexual either. If you go back and listen to
prove that they're gay.
I'm saying that there's no reason to even bring up what you're bringing up. It has no bearing on the movie. It has no bearing on the characters. It has nothing to do with anything except for you trying to insert some kind of fucking social awareness program into a fucking movie that doesn't need to be there.
That's totally gay. He's trying to insert something.
Fox, I slightly disagree.
I'm not trying to insert any sort of awareness program. Like, you are ascribing some sort of political intentions to what I'm doing, and I'm just saying that two people in a movie can be gay. Like,
here's the thing. Okay. Here's the thing. Okay,
I didn't say.
I think we can all agree to disagree on this one for the simple reason is that two people on this panel right here both felt, not saying it was shown, but totally felt like Topher said, there's more to their relationship than what we've seen in the movie. Okay, so if two people on this panel felt that way after viewing the movie, and that's the feelings they got from them, and two people didn't, that's completely understandable, because no one did anything in the movie to confirm that one person takes a dick to the butt and one person doesn't. Okay, so we can leave it at that.
I'm not saying there's necessarily like any hard evidence that there's proof, but like I don't understand why you're fighting it so hard. Like, I was expecting maybe, and then we're done with this conversation. But like, you're the one who's like fighting this. I mean, I don't know if I'm right or not, but you seem to
fight the feelings
really hard that I'm wrong. So
you said
your feelings on this are way stronger than mine.
My feelings are that you put words into my mouth and twist my argument to say something.
That was
not what I was saying. I was not arguing that they are heterosexual. I was simply saying that there's no evidence to point either way, so there's no reason to assume that they were involved with one another.
Well, you can assume whatever you want. I mean,
what happens when you assume, podcast?
You make an ass out of.
We come up with theories about characters and shit all the time without evidence. It's just like what if this? Like, and people like every single time we talk about a movie, or like theories about like Force Awakens and who people are. The entire comment is like, oh yeah, maybe. Oh, I like that theory. Oh, yes, that's good. Oh, that could be possible. It's always positive. But you mentioned this, and you're like, no, there's no fucking evidence. It's like, dude, we haven't had any evidence about most of the theories we've made about movies. Right. Like, why is this one suddenly different?
We have more Star Wars to talk about.
Yeah, I'm done arguing with you.
I think I'm taking the side of neutral. They're asexual.
Whatever. Yeah.
They love everybody equally.
Diego
they're bisexual.
Diego Luna. How did you guys feel about his character? Was he a homo too? Apparently.
Wow.
Diego Luna.
Wow.
Luna. A lot of reviews.
Who's Diego Luna?
Luna.
Cassian.
Oh, okay.
His character was portrayed by a lot of reviewers as like showing the dark, like underbelly side of the rebellion. Yeah, like the seedy, like they're willing to do anything.
The terrorist side.
And I think it has.
Well, no, he wasn't the terrorist side. I felt like Maz Kanata, not Maz Kanata. Why is that name stuck in my head?
Forrest Whitaker's
character.
Saul Guerrero was.
Saul Guerrero, there we go.
Terrorist.
Yeah, I think that the reason people are saying this is around the scene where he gets the information and then kills the guy that gives him the information. But I think that people are misinterpreting that. In my opinion, I think that the reason he killed the guy was to just prevent the guy from letting the Empire know what information they had. I don't think it was like a dark, undersided, like mischievous, like it was just like the dude, like he totally would not have shot the guy had the guy been able to climb the fucking wall. But the guy couldn't climb the wall, so It was either
It's not bad. He just killed the guy to keep him from talking.
well, it was
Yeah.
I mean, it was either kill the guy or risk losing the
Him getting
entire rebellion.
Yeah.
Like,
You know, it shows
I don't think that's
that-
necessarily like a dark
They're-
side.
it shows that everything's not in the rebellion, everything's not cookie cutter clean. It showed that they got to do what they got to do for the greater good.
Right. I would agree with that statement. What did
I
you
think it also shows that there's people who are attracted to the rebellion for the wrong reasons.
Oh,
sometimes.
don't say that word attracted. It's going to start another fight.
That, you know, maybe not everybody's in it, you know, for the greater good. Maybe some people are just in it for, you know, revenge against the Empire, or, you know, like it doesn't necessarily attract all good people to the cause.
Yeah, he was going to kill
Well, I mean,
Jin's father. No.
he was. You got to think he was brought up he was brought up from war.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
What is
he's
it good for?
He was no different than Jen. Like, you know, like he came up. He said it. He lost his parents too. They were killed by the Empire. You know, but he chose to do something different about it. So, you know, he kind of grew up numb to the whole killing thing, which I'm sure Jen probably did too. You know, she kind of grew up with, you know, making her way and stuff, and probably
Making my
did
way
some dirty
downtown.
things. But tried to sell herself on the corner of Tatooine and stuff. But, you know, I don't know. I think that he wasn't. I think he was just a soldier. You know what I mean? And he knew. I think he was more of definitely like a covert type soldier and knew to do dirt when he had to do dirt. But I don't think he just chose to do dirt.
Yeah, that's the vibe I got too.
Yeah,
He's just doing his due diligence.
yeah. I mean, when he has to punch the clock, he punches the clock. You know.
So one of the big, like, hotly contested things about this movie that I've seen that people dislike a lot was the CGI of Grand Moff Tarkin and Princess Leia. Where do you guys land on this?
Well, I mean, I don't think that they're gonna fucking be able to get like actual footage of them now. So you kind of had to deal with what you got.
Right, but people, what people are saying is that they should not have had like actual face reveals. Like maybe the subtle reflection of Grand Moff Tarkin in the window was enough. You didn't need to see his face as much as we did. Leia didn't have to turn around. Just her standing there in the robes was enough to know who it was. I mean, what do you think, Pirate?
I did not have a problem with it. I thought it was they were. It might have been a little rough for CGI, you know what I mean? But let's be real, like you can only do so much. Like, yeah,
I agree. I'm probably in the minority here. I liked it. I thought it was awesome seeing those characters. I thought it did an awesome job of linking it to the old movies. I thought they looked pretty good. I think they could have done a better job of cleaning the CGI up and making it look a little more realistic, to the caliber of like Planet of the Apes or War of the Planet of the Apes that's coming out. That CGI is fucking incredible. This was a little subpar compared to that, but it still looked really good. And I thought it added to the feeling. It was exciting to see Princess Leia at the end. It was exciting to see Grand Moff Tarkin in the movie. I like that.
I think that the difference between that and comparing it to Planet of the Apes is they're creating like the visual that you're getting with Planet of the Apes.
Right.
They're not rehashing
recreating something
a
that's
vision
real.
that's 40. You know, what is it? Shit.
Yeah,
30
it's
years old.
It's a lot harder to do an exact replica of something that actually exists, you know, than to just create something new that looks good. They apparently went through like hours and hours and hours of footage, of archival footage of, you know, recordings and everything, and to like restructure their face, their, you know, the texture, their movements, like everything. Like that was one of the most technologically advanced like digital recreations ever. So like this goes way beyond the Planet of the Apes stuff in terms of what they actually had to do for it. Obviously, like the end result is still being compared against real life versus, you know, we have no real life talking, you know, gorillas to compare it to. But
what other movie have they ever done something like that in?
they've done it in the last Fast and Furious movie. Actually, they had to
Yeah.
digitally recreate the dude.
Yeah,
that-
but that
Well,
was
Walker.
that was different.
Like
that was
2 seconds.
They
That was
superimposed
for a
his
couple
brother's
scenes.
face over his.
Well, they
Over
still had
acting.
an actual. They did the same thing here. They actually still had. They had an actor doing Tarkin. It was another British actor, like with a similar facial structure, and they had another young actress do Princess Leia, and then they basically digitally touched over their face and like applied the texture skin over top of like their existing facial structure and whatnot. So they
you know
they
what
still
other
did that
movie?
for these.
They did this to another movie, Queen of the Damned. They did-
when Aaliyah died.
Really?
yeah,
For Aaliyah?
her brother stood in for her in certain scenes.
They did it on another movie too recently because I was watching a YouTube video about this yesterday or the day before, and I can't remember now what it was. But it was pretty fascinating, like what they actually had to do for all this stuff. But still, my own personal opinion was that it was unnecessary, and it kind of took me out of the movie a bit. Like one of the reasons that I rated the movie a little lower than you might have expected was because there were a couple things that just kind of pulled me out of the movie and kept me from getting fully into it. And one of them was the CGI characters. Tarkin grew on me as the movie went on because you got used to seeing him like that. But the first time I saw him, I was like, "Oh, it's Tarkin," and then he turns around and like, "Oh, they're actually gonna do his face." And then I found myself like examining his face, like, yeah, it's pretty close to right. Oh, right, I'm supposed to be listening to the dialogue here. Like it kind of pulled me out of it for a second, and I guess I did get a little more used to him, but still, the entire time, like they kept trying to incorporate things from the original in, and I liked the effort, but obviously the voice for him was new. It was the guy that they got to play him, the English dude, but it was the voice was obviously different. He tried to mimic the guy's voice, but when they went to fire the Death Star, they used the "You May Fire When Ready" sound clip from Episode 4, and it was jarring how like all of a sudden his voice sounded like him again rather than how it had sounded for the whole movie. And like they kept doing little stuff like that like I like what you're going for, but you need to just pick some consistency and stick with it, because it's jarring when you keep trying to mix the old with the new. And then I had almost finally gotten used to Tarkin when Leia turned around, and I'm like, oh, like it's off a little bit. It had that uncanny valley feel to it, or it's like it's not quite right, and it just felt kind of weird to me. It wasn't terrible. All in all, it looked really good. It was really close, but it still kind of pulled me out of the moment. And I thought, like Fox said, I think she would have been better served to just show her from the back and have her face veiled, from the side as she, grabbed it. Like, we don't need to see her face to know who that is. We don't, And the Tarkin thing, I thought maybe he would have been better played as like a hologram, because then you can have a CGI recreation that doesn't look exact, because it's like the little, like the little blue hologram, thing that they use all the time. Like it wouldn't have had to be perfect, because it would look like it was being digitally transmitted, so like I thought that there were things that they could do to include those characters without having to go to the length that they did, and to have the effects sort of still not be completely perfect. Like, don't get me wrong, it was really well done, and they did a great job with it, and it took tons of effort, and I'm not trying to say it was shit, but I still just don't think you can ever completely recreate, a realistic looking human face right now of a real human being, and not have it be a little jarring when you suddenly look at it.
What did you think of it, Brian?
I liked it.
I did too.
I'm in agreement with you. I liked it a lot. I thought, it's some scenes that did seem off. A lot of scenes that, to me, didn't, because any scene that was completely lit up his face, you could tell a little bit that it was a little off. That's why I think with Leia, it didn't work that well, because her ship was just completely bright and everything was white around her. I don't mind that they showed her face because it kind of like it boosts right into like, bam, A New Hope starts like right there. She has it. It's like kicks off A New Hope to me. Tarkin, I liked being there. You know, I like the subtle things they did to tie in the movies. You know, we'll get into some of the things I'm sure that I'll point out. It tied into the cartoons that are in canon now, but I liked it. I didn't mind it, but I do feel like some things were off.
Brian,
Made it
just,
seem
just
off.
so you know, you're missing your soap opera on the TV behind you. Just so you know. Didn't
I
want
think
you,
Moonshiners is on.
didn't want you to miss out on that. Okay, so that being said, the story overall, I personally, this is why I liked the movie better than Force Awakens. I thought the story was more original than Force Awakens in the fact that I still am a firm believer that Force Awakens was essentially just a retelling of A New Hope. It had all the same major plot points as A New Hope. It just didn't feel like an original story to me. This took the constructs of the Star Wars universe and constructed an original story with a bunch of characters that we had never met and fit like a perfectly crafted puzzle piece right into the Star Wars universe as we've known and loved it. And it fills this ever so small gap that we didn't even necessarily know that we had in the Star Wars universe and by telling how they got the plans, how we got to A New Hope. And I thought it was impeccably done. That's why I rated it so high. I thought that what they had to do with fitting the story in and not making it feel like, you know, you were writing it with handcuffs on was challenging. But they did it in spades, in my opinion. It fit. We had basically the entire movie almost without even seeing a lightsaber. And it still felt like a Star Wars movie. So to me, that's an accomplishment because that's one of the big things, like you said, Topher. You can't have the Star Wars movies without the Force. You know, lightsaber is another one of those things that is like a seminal part of a Star Wars movie. This went like all the way to the end with the scene with Darth Vader before we even saw a lightsaber. So it was like, but it felt like a Star Wars movie the whole time.
That was the greatest freeze ever.
Yeah, it was.
Right?
Where did it freeze at?
On your O face with your hand right in front of your face. That's why I loved the story. That's why I rated it as high as I did. Let's work opposite direction this time. Brian, how did you
See, I
about the
loved it.
story?
And I would even upgrade my ranking from last week to an 8.5 because it answered questions. It showed you a pinnacle part that kicked off the whole Star Wars thing. It tied in even tied in the cartoons to the
Cinematic universe.
the story, yeah, the universe. It gave you questions, and you know, there's so much other things that we didn't touch on, like Red Leader and Gold Leader being taken out of A New Hope and editing it into this movie, which I didn't even notice that. You know, the Red 5 blowing up, the few nods
That's really
towards
great.
the Rebels characters that were in there, giving us the reason why a small exhaust port was the downfall of a giant super weapon.
Yeah.
I mean, and the story a whole, like without, you know, there was no reason to put so much information about these characters because guess what? They're dead. And it didn't take so much time on them to take away from everything as a whole. the first time we get to see a giant ground war in the Star Wars universe. You know, all that stuff was just put together so well that it didn't take, nothing took away in my put as anything. And then seeing Vader go at it at the end, like we've never seen Vader F people up before.
Best scene in the whole movie.
Yeah, that scene just,
I could have watched an entire hour and a half of that.
it was like something out of a horror film, just the
I know.
way he introduced at the end. And then some of the
It was like, run, motherfucker, run!
some of the things like him rising up, the guy blocking a lasers, cutting the guy in half, and then just going at everybody. And then at the end, him staring there, watching the blockade runner take off into light speed. It was just, everything was put together so well. And even him, like, he didn't take away from the movie. The two parts he was in, it didn't take away from the movie. Like, it wasn't mainly based on Darth Vader, but it was in there enough that you were satisfied with him being in there. It wasn't just like, oh, Darth Vader in his castle. That was cool too. They took the castle out of concept art and Legends material and threw it into this movie.
Be careful not to choke on your aspirations.
Yeah, that was a little weird.
That was
That was a
awesome.
little
He just turns around and force chokes him, like, and then he holds his finger like this. Like, like, what the fuck? You just like say you got a small pepper.
I'm crushing your throat. I'm crushing your throat.
So
Mother-
Topher,
Crush.
Before Topher goes, I just want to say, you remember my comment when we signed off last week, Doug? And you're like, I hope you didn't spoil anything.
No, I don't remember.
I mean, I didn't say the line. I didn't say the line correct, 100% correctly, but that's basically what I said when we signed off.
What did you say?
I said, fuck, I forgot what I said, but at the end, after you're like,
Something about choking on something.
yeah,
choking
don't,
on it.
and then after you said, I hope you didn't spoil anything, me and Chris laughed.
Wow. Topher, what did you think of the story as a whole?
I thought the story was great. I mean, like I said, you know, my initial review was a little lower because it didn't quite have the typical Star Wars movie feel to it. Like I've read a bunch of the expanded universe, and there's clearly a lot of different, you know, themes and moods and other Star Wars stuff. But the movies have always had this, like, you know, this hopeful fairy tale feel to them, you know, like the hero's journey kind of thing. And this one, like, kind of didn't have that, but it was a great war movie. And that's just a different genre for a Star Wars movie. And so, like, my initial feeling in the theater, you know, like, I maybe wasn't quite as crazy about it as I could have been, but a week removed and kind of just thinking about it, there was so much I liked about this movie and about the story specifically and the characters that you know, I think I would probably have to, you know, up my rating to an 8, just because it's definitely grown on me. You know, the things that kind of pulled me out of it in the moment, you know, are forgotten, you know, like, and what sticks with you is the great story, and the story was really good. You know, like Brian said, you know, the holes that it fills in for some of the Star Wars lore. You know, like, why was it so easy to blow up the Death Star? You know, like, in some of the Star Wars novels, you know, it's always hard when you're creating new material in an existing franchise, you know, especially a prequel, because it's hard to make a story that stands on its own right without making it seem like you're making your characters now the new most important characters in the universe, because how what they do, you know, enables everybody else in the coming movie to do what they do, you know. And I think they managed to walk that line really well and give these characters their due, make them important, make them fit in, and yet not overstate their importance and have them overshadow the efforts of what comes later, like Luke being the one to actually blow up the Death Star, or, Leia organizing, aspects of the rebellion, and, like, just it's easy when you're creating it's like power creep in video games, like every time you have a sequel, like they try and make it bigger and better, and you look back at the original, it's like, well, this one's not fun anymore because it's been kind of ruined by everything that came after. Yeah. And you can have that with movies too, especially in a franchise that's gone on this long, like you have to keep upping the stakes. Like look at the Starkiller base from Force Awakens. It's basically just a bigger, badder-ass Death Star, which kind of makes it feel like, really, it's not very original, and, does that diminish the importance of the original Death Star? Well, here, the weapon still is the Death Star, but it's like a not quite as powered up version of it, and somehow it still really works. Like the stakes manage to be high without making some other super weapon that overshadows everything that's come before, and I think they did a really good job with that. I loved the atmosphere and the tone of it. Like Fox mentioned, everything in this movie is unmistakably Star Wars. There is like the planets, the costumes, the characters, the droids, the guns, the everything. Like at no point are you like, this isn't even still Star Wars. It's like, fuck no, this is Star Wars. Like it has such a great Star Wars feel to it, but they managed to do something a little different with it. And I think what I appreciated most about this film was that, you had all the little tie-ins like Red 5 blowing up, and I even laughed in the theater. I'm like, well, I guess they need a new Red 5. I wonder where they're gonna find one of those.
Did you notice the tie-in from the two characters from Mos Eisley Cantina in A New Hope?
Yeah, Dr. Evazan and Ponda Baba.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was cool too. I liked all the little call-outs, and some people said that like R2D2 and C3PO there in the Rebel hangar on Yavin 4 before before Rogue One takes off was unnecessary, but I liked it. I appreciated that. I thought that they did a lot of. They might have gone overboard on the tie-ins and trying to connect too many pieces, but I don't think they failed at that. I think it's still played okay. But the thing I appreciated most about this film was all the tie-ins and how it leads right up into Episode 4, but Episode 4 doesn't have any of these characters. You never see these characters again in the Rebellion anywhere, and you kind of knew during the movie that something has to happen to these people because we're not going to see them again. Like at the beginning of the Battle of Scarif, you've got, and I noticed Gold Leader and Red Leader, and I thought that was really cool. That they had Garvin Dries and whoever the other dude is, whose name I can't remember, and it was cool because they're like, Red Squadron, do some space fight stuff. Gold Squadron, do some space fight stuff. Blue Squadron, make your way down to the planet. And I'm like, I remember Gold Squadron and Red Squadron from Episode 4, but I don't remember Blue Squad. Oh, yep, they're all gonna die. You knew they were all gonna die, and then you start thinking about the characters, and it's like, well, shit, these characters are pretty capable, and they're pretty important members of the rebellion at this point. Like, they should turn up again in the original trilogy, but clearly they don't. So something has to happen to them, and I really hope they don't chicken out and take the the easy route with like, oh, they decided to run off together and run away together and escape this evil fight and blah blah blah, and come up with some excuse why they just leave. They had to die, and they do die. And what I appreciate most about this movie is that they had the guts to kill them all.
All
these characters
appreciated the most 3 times already. I just want to let you know that.
Right, I hadn't actually gotten to the point that I appreciated. But thank you.
Goes last from now on.
All right,
it was long, but all I'm saying is the characters, the story demanded that they had to die, and I really liked the fact that they didn't chicken out and send them away on some permanent vacation kind of thing. They killed the entire main cast, and that's very unlike Star Wars, for the main characters to die, but they saw that it had to happen for the story to work, and they stuck to it, and they committed to it, and kudos for having the balls to actually kill off your entire fucking cast.
Well,
After
we
Han
thought
Solo,
they
after
weren't
killing
making
Han
that
Solo,
dog.
it's like they give no fucks now about killing anybody. They're like, we're going to go George R.R. Martin on this.
now for what I appreciate the most is that Pirate didn't get up and walk away during Chris's.
I was like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Wow, and he said and what I appreciated the most, he had 3 different points that always started with what I appreciated
It
the
was-
most. I'm like, is it most, moster, and mostest?
No, it was all the same thing. It just took me a long time to get to it.
So
And I wasn't sure if you remembered that I appreciated the upcoming thing the most, so I had to remind you that I was still leading up to the thing that I appreciated the most.
Pirate, what did you appreciate the most about the story?
What can I say that Topher didn't say?
Nothing, because he used the entire English language.
The only thing I'm going to add to
You
Topher
didn't
was
say
that what I appreciated the most was seeing the planet's perspective when it's fired on by the Death Star. That was fucking
Oh, yeah,
cool.
that
even
was-
though
that
it was
was
like
pretty dope.
even though it was a small portion of its power,
That was
like
cool.
you see it like level a whole city. That I thought that was like, that was cool. And going into it, I thought like the whole time I was watching the movie, I was like, where are the Bothans? Where are the fucking Bothans?
Didn't we already talk about?
Yeah,
I
me
told
and-
you last night.
Me
we
and
already
Brian talked about this, and apparently I forgot that was the one that. for the
I've had to
seventh,
remind so many people about that.
Yeah,
We even talked about it on this podcast once before.
right.
Yeah.
And I remember hearing about it, but and I was just sitting there the whole time watching, like, where are the Bothans? I don't remember this. This isn't right.
Well, actually, last night John
I
said,
said
"Where are the
Banthas.
Banthas?"
Where's the Panthers?
That's definitely not right.
Yeah, no.
There was blue milk in there. What
All
are you talking
right. Well, that pretty much wraps up our overall review of Rogue One. As always, it's been fun. I'm Fox 2. We got Pirate.
Let us know in the comments who you thought was gay in the film.
Topher.
Yeah.
And the whole Evan Brian.
Let us know in the comments below who you think is gay on this podcast.